We're going to call the meeting to order, ladies and gentlemen. Any special intentions by anyone?
Yes.
We're going to start with Councilwoman DeFrances.
Thank you, Council President, for this meeting. There are two people that I'm going to ask everyone to pray for, and the first is Julie Stokes. She has been diagnosed with breast cancer. It has been out in the news, and she will be starting chemo, and you know what a difficult time she's going to have. So we're asking that you please keep Julie Stokes and her family in your prayers first. And secondly, today it was also announced that Steve Calise is being moved back into ICU for possible infections. So if we could keep both of them in our prayers, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Segura.
Thank you. 2 weeks ago, a retiree of the city of Kenner, former Public Works Director Don Crimmin, passed away. So he's the father of one of our firefighters, Keith Crimmin. So I certainly wanted to let the family know that we are remembering him in our prayers. Don and I go back many years from his tenure here in the city. I'm not sure if anybody else, but so just, again, prayers for his family with the loss of Don. Thank you.
Thank you. We have any more special intentions? If not, Councilman Moreno, would you lead us in a prayer, please?
Let us bow our heads and remember that we are in the presence of the Lord. Almighty God, bless our nation and make it true to the ideas of freedom and justice and brotherhood for all who make it great. Guard us from war, from fire and wind, from compromise, fear, and confusion. Be close to our president and our statesmen. Give them the vision and courage as they ponder decisions affecting peace and the future of the world. Make us more deeply aware of our heritage, realizing not only our rights, but also our duties and responsibilities as citizens. Make this great land and all its people know clearly your will, that they may fulfill the destiny ordained for us in the salvation of the nations and the restoring of all things in Christ. For this we pray, amen.
Amen.
Councilman Wilmot, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. Councilman Klein is absent tonight. In accordance with the council resolution number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Mr. Chairman, I've received a request this evening to change the order of business tonight to take item 13A at the beginning of the meeting.
Motion by Councilman Reynard, second by Councilman Segura to change the order of business. Councilman, please vote. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0 to change the order of 6-0, to change the order of business. Item 13A is a resolution appointing a council president effective July 1st, 2017.
Motion by Councilman Impastato, second by Councilman Segura. Councilman, please vote.
I believe I need to amend it, right? I need to move to amend it?
Have a name?
Yes, if I could get a motion simply to insert a name into the legislation. It won't require an amendment, just a motion to insert a name.
Yeah, I move to insert Councilman Gregory Carroll as council president and Councilman Tom Wilmot as vice president.
Motion by Councilman Impastato to amend, second by Councilman Wilmot.
It's fine. It's fine.
We'll
Council
take-
members, please vote on
Please vote.
Councilman Carroll to serve as the president, please.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Chairman, I've also received a request tonight to change the order of business to take item 13B at the beginning of the meeting. If I could get a motion in a second to change the order of business.
Motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilwoman DeFrances
To change the order
to
of
change the order of business. Councilman, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0 to change the order of business. Item 13B is a resolution appointing a council vice president effective July 1st, 2017. Councilman Impastato previously stated he would like to nominate Councilman Wilmot in this spot.
Can I make a statement?
Absolutely, you sure can.
First of all, let me say that both choices are excellent choices, and there's no negativity associated, please, with my comment on either one of them. The only problem I have is we have been talking so often about talking to each other. Councilman Carroll and I had a very long discussion about that earlier. We just need to do it more often. In the past, whenever we've had new council presidents or vice presidents, we've always talked to each other. And this did not happen this time. And although I think they're both excellent, and I'm voting for both of them, I hope in the future we're going to talk to each other before, not just at the time that we're voting. So that's just a statement on my part. But again, I will be voting for you, Councilman Wilmot, as well as I did for Councilman Carroll, and I think you're both good choices. I think you'll do an excellent job. I just hope we'll all talk to each other a little bit more in the future. Thank you.
And I just want to add to that, Councilwoman DeFrances, that this came up 2 weeks ago in the meeting, and you were not here. And because of that very same reason that you said, we chose to defer it, to be able to give the opportunity for everyone to be part of that conversation. I spoke with Councilman Moreno about it. I'm not sure if he spoke with you about it or not, and maybe one of us should have, but we did talk about that. So it wasn't like we were trying to come in the cover of night to do this. We deferred it, and unfortunately, we weren't part of that conversation. But we did discuss it, we deferred it, and that's where we are here today. And I appreciate your support. Even if you wasn't, listen, this your right to say that, and I appreciate that. But no hard feelings or anything like that.
No.
But I think we are where we are right now, and we need to move forward.
I have the floor, yeah. And I just want to clarify and remind Councilman DeFrances of our conversation on June 23rd at about 11:15 a.m. when we spoke about making this
What you said?
motion and resolution at this meeting. That was about 9, maybe 10 days ago or so. So we definitely had that conversation before this meeting, just to make sure everybody was on the same page. So I want to make sure everyone is aware that when you did return to this country from a vacation, it sounds like it was great. I wish I was there.
My boys are great.
Yeah, but we did have that conversation to make sure that we did continue in the spirit of cooperation and collaboration, which we did, and had that conversation, which is why I think we'll have a good unanimous support for this tonight. Thank you.
So
Your motion would
The
be
motion now?
Impastato, second by,
by Councilman Reyno
okay.
for Vice President, Councilman Wilmot. Please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Back to your original consent agenda this evening. Item 1 is approval of minutes of the special session council meeting of June 5th, 2017, and the regular council meeting of June 15th, 2017. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Celebracion Hispana de Kenner on August 12, 2017, at the Kenner Heritage Park, being property owned by the City of Kenner, 303 Williams Boulevard in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 2029-17, Celebracion Hispana de Kenner Incorporated, to hold a public gathering on August 12, 2017, from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the purpose of a Topa de Santo Domingo St. Dominic Fest at Kenner Heritage Park in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3B is application number 2030-17, Divine Mercy Catholic Church, to hold a public gathering on October 13, 2017, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., October 14, 2017, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and October 15, 2017, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the purpose of a Catholic Parish Annual Festival at Divine Mercy Catholic Church in Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Mayor Zahn, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Council Chairman. Just a very brief update on where we are with code enforcement sweeps throughout the city. Just since the month of April, we have done 8 large sweeps, and we're not just talking about a street here and there. We're going and sweeping many commercial areas and complexes and also neighborhoods on the complaints that we're getting from the district council members, and of course, we're seeing as administration along with the police department. We have plans to do at least one a week to continue that if personnel allows that, and this council has granted that we will be able to hire some additional code enforcement part-time inspectors, which we'll be looking at to do that. having that, along with what we have, if personnel allows that, we will do one a week, which I think that will help the blight that we see throughout the city. This will bring 8 blighted properties before you all for demolition very shortly. With the things that we've done throughout the city, going from District 1 all the way to 5, we will bring those 8 properties before you for demolition. I would appreciate y'all's help on that, because that's what the neighborhoods want, that's what our residents want, that's what we want as an administration. I know you all as a city council. We are currently seeing the improvements at the Pavilion Shopping Center. I know there's been a lot of social media back and forth with some discussions that some don't think that we're seeing the improvements. We are having improvements at the Pavilion Shopping Center. You don't always see the improvements because they are in the interior, and a lot's being done at the movie theater. There is a very good potential tenant that wants to take over the movie theater. It will be good for the area. It will bring other developments around there, or other tenants to that development around there. They've hired Mr. Sid Bullitt with Absolute Realty. He has signs. I went out there Sunday because I was looking at social media where nothing's being done. I went out there myself, and I think almost every window of every store has a Sid Bullitt Absolute Realty sign in the window. That's them being aggressive, trying to put that building back into commerce. Yes, we gave them, I think, to the end of July to do something, to go to demolition or put it back into commerce. That was our comments back then. That's our comments again tonight, is that we are looking for them to put it back into commerce before we have to demo it. I think each and every one of you all and all of our residents would agree we'd rather see it back in commerce than demoed. If they didn't want to do anything, that was what we were going to do, is what we wanted to demo. But right now, I'm seeing that. There is a demo scheduled for the old Goodyear right behind Dillard's that Dillard's owns at the Esplanade Mall. That's going to be helpful because I think there's another development that wants to come to that site, is what they're talking to the Esplanade Mall about. And of course, the anticipated sale of the old movie theater, not our movie theater we have that's doing very good. The old movie theater, the old Hollywood theater, that is anticipated to be sold very soon. And of course, this council passed to put another complex there, which will be there hopefully shortly after. These things take time. I know this council's been working on that for a while. My administration, myself, along with the chief, we've been working on putting these things out there, getting these things done, and that's where we are right now. So I appreciate y'all's support on the things we bring before you all to look at the blighted properties and get rid of them off of our landscape and make Kenner a better place for we all can enjoy that. Sure, I just want to extend thanks to everybody again. We went through literally a dry run on Tropical Storm Cindy. We had a few problems, but we were actually able to see by working with you, all of you all, keeping in touch with you all. Some of you all visited the EOC while we were there for 2.5 days.
It's going to work.
I think we had a good experience. We know any kinks that we need to work out to be prepared for our residents. It's ironic, I think the week after that, Councilman Carroll and Councilman Segura had a little flooding in their districts, which wasn't part of the tropical storm. I think that was actually worse than the tropical storm. So we're addressing that with you, Councilman Carroll. We appreciate you staying in touch with us. We were able to get Public Works out there for you. Unfortunately, had a few residents that did flood. Councilman Segura had the same issue, but we are addressing your issues as you've just met with Jimmy Dennis. I know you had contact with Jimmy Dennis that whole day. Anything else that you need from us, let us know. But that was the bigger tropical storm for us on that Saturday. I think it was the Saturday after the tropical storm that we had issues with. Again, I thank you all for your cooperation and the movement of Kenner and keeping Kenner proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman DeFranchise, you have the floor.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to reiterate something or add to something you just said. I really should have said. I talked to Arnold Cooper, who is the manager of the Pavilion Mall, and to Sid Bullard as well. And they're exactly on board with everything you've said. Not only are they working on a large box store to come in. But in addition, Mr. Bullard is working on local companies coming in to occupy some of the smaller stores that are there as well. So they're working on both fronts, and I just wanted to commend you and the administration for working together with them to push that forward.
We thank you, Councilman DeFrancis. You know, as the councilman of that district for about, 8 years, and now as at large, still living around that neighborhood, it's been an ongoing problem. I think what we did, along with this council and along with the chief of police, is what we had to do. Make sure that they realized we're not going to put up with it. We want it back in commerce. And I got to say, they're making those efforts. So I don't think a demo is going to happen. And like I said, and I think that's what you're alluding to, that we need to get it back in there. And I think we're gonna have something. It might not be perfect, but we're gonna have something.
And I think that's one of the reasons Mr. Cooper said he also hired a local person as well. They had a national, company working on it, but we need to get locals as well as the national involved. So I think that's a good mix.
Yeah,
It should help.
the local people are more eager. They live here. I agree. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'd just like to say that also to thank the administration, thank the code department, Public Works, and everybody. Obviously, we all know that the blighted properties are the big eyesore, and people see that. But it's good to hear that we're moving in a direction, like I stated at the budget hearing, to be able to have individuals within the district where we have consistency. Because from my office, that is most of the sound that I get, that maybe one area of the district, they may look into it, but they don't in the S. Speaking specifically for District 1, because we are kind of segmented, from the river to the airline, the Veteran Heights area, the Lincoln Manor, University City, it's kind of, it's chopped up. So to be able to have someone who's doing it on a regular basis, I think for all of our districts will be able to support the code department and everyone else, I think. So, again, more people are calling the office to say that, we're at least looking at it right now. It's not perfect, obviously. There's no utopia here. But as long as we know we're going to work in this direction, I think it's going to be better for the whole city. So, again, thank you guys.
And I agree. It only works if we all work together. And that's what this administration has done with this council, and we appreciate the council's return.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Councilmember Wilmot, second by Councilmember DeFranchise on the consent agenda.
Please vote. Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Under the public appearance agenda this evening, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,261. An ordinance approving a conditional use application for a place of worship located on lot Y-1-H-4B, Square 37, Driftwood Park Subdivision in Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, which property is zoned C2.
Madam Chair, I think we have a presentation by Mr. Hebert.
Yes, if I could get a motion and a second to open your public hearing?
Yes, motion by Councilman Wilmot, second by Councilman Impastato to open the public hearing. Councilman, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0 for your, to open your public hearing.
Mr. Hebert, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Council President. The owner and applicant is Celebration Church Incorporated, located at 1915 Airline Drive, Metairie, Louisiana 7001. Lot Y1H4B contains the Fountain Square Retail Shopping Center located at 3550 Williams Boulevard, which is just north of West Esplanade Avenue. The property zone C2 General Commercial. Celebration Church proposes to use and renovate a 14,320 square foot vacant tenant space formerly occupied by Riviera Spa as a place of worship. Celebration Church purchased the property from Westbrook Properties LLC on March 18th, 2016. Now, the overall footprint of the building is not being modified. The applicant is essentially conducting an interior renovation of the corner tenant space that will be used as a main worship area for the church. They intend to use the shopping center's existing parking spaces for their Sunday morning and Wednesday evening services. Now, it's been determined that a minimum of 164 parking spaces are required for the place of worship. The commercial center currently contains 179 parking spaces. Now, the applicant also has entered into an agreement with AMF All-Star Lanes to lease a maximum of 52 additional parking spaces for Sunday services if needed. The only proposed exterior changes are the addition of exit stairs and ramps on the south and east faces of the building and a new wall-mounted sign. The sign measures approximately 108 square feet and will be placed above the main entrance to the facility and reads Celebration Church. On May 24th, the Planning Commission recommended approval. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Hebert. Is there anyone else here wishing to address the council? No one recognized? Okay. Motion by Councilman Reynaud, second by Councilman Wilmot, to close public hearing. Councilman, please vote. Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Motion by Councilman Reynaud, second by Councilman Wilmot, to approve. Councilman, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Item 9B is, excuse me, I'm sorry. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,262, an amendment to ordinance 11,059, Stone Interior, New Orleans Plan Unit Development, previously adopted March 17, 2016, in accordance with the site plan, building elevation plan, and landscape plan dated April 7, 2017, performed by Caserta Architects located on Lot L-1, Oakland Plantation Subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, case number PUD-2-17.
Motion by Councilwoman DeFranchise, second by Councilman Segura, to open the public hearing. Councilman, please vote.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Mr. Hebert, I believe you have another presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The owner and applicant is Stone Interiors New Orleans. Stone Interiors New Orleans is a granite countertop, tile, slab, and fabrication business currently located in the James Business Park in St. Charles Parish. Lot L1 fronts the south side of Airline Drive and is generally bounded by Pine Street to the east and Blair Street to the west. On March 17, 2016, the City Council approved a plan unit development for Stone Interiors New Orleans. Property is governed under Special Ordinance 11,059. The proposed changes to the planned unit development include relocating the tile sales and showroom building from the east side of the development site to the west side and increasing the size of the building from 8,000 square feet to 24,877 square feet. Second, moving the outdoor slab display areas to the inside of the sale and showroom building. Third, relocating the countertop fabrication building from the east side to the west side and increasing the size of that building from 9,000 square feet to 10,800 square feet. And fourth, moving the vehicular access drive and off-street parking areas from the west side to the east side. Now, the changes require a minimum of 50 off-street parking spaces. A total of 60 spaces will be provided. The loading zones will be located at the southeast corner of the tile sale and showroom building and at the southeast corner of the counter fabrication building. A dumpster corral will be located at the covered area between the two buildings, and a second dumpster will be added during the second phase of the development. Landscaping is still being provided along the Airline Drive front with the green belt located along the perimeters of the property. The proposed landscape plan meets the city's minimum landscape requirements. The two buildings will each measure 28 feet in height. Both buildings fall below the 100-foot maximum height limit of the light industrial zoning district. The proposed signage for the development has not changed and is consistent with the previously adopted ordinance 11,059. On May 24th, the Planning Commission recommended approval.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address this subject? Seeing none. Councilman Impastato, you have the floor.
I can do it after we close.
Good after, okay. Motion by Councilwoman DeFranchise, second by Councilman Wilmot to close the public hearing. Councilwoman, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0 to close your hearing.
Councilman-
Motion by
I just
Councilmember-
wanted I'm sorry.
Let's put the motion on the floor. Motion by Councilmember DeFranchise,
Second
second by
by
Councilmember
Wilmot.
Wilmot to approve.
To approve.
And now you can.
No, please.
I just wanted to briefly emphasize something that was stated by Mr. Hebert in his presentation. A year ago, if y'all remember, we welcomed this business into the city of Kenner and approved their initial plans from another jurisdiction altogether. And within a year, we're seeing them, looks like almost doubling in size and expanding that business. So I think that's a very exciting economic development step for the city. It's just one business of many. And so I just want to let Stone Interiors know how much we appreciate their willingness to support the city of Kenner and invest in the city of Kenner and grow here. So Just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman DeFrances, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. And I just want to add one small comment. It's always wonderful to see when businesses not only invest in the city of Kenner, which we are absolutely ecstatic to see, but see the way it was done. It was done properly by working with our planning department and Mr. Hebert and his staff. You know, too often we see too much contentiousness or people trying to circumvent the system. Here's a perfect example of how working together, everyone benefits. The company that's investing in Kenner, the city, and the people that we represent. So I want to compliment them for working with our planning department as well. And Mr. Hebert, thank you to you and your staff as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, we've received a request to change the order of business. If we could, please. Under item 17, reports from the council and/or special committees. We would like to entertain at this time a presentation by Mr. Doug Dote. If I could get a motion and a second to change the order of business.
Motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilman Reyno to change the order of business. Councilman, please vote. Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Mr. Doug Dote, you have the floor.
Thank you. Council members, just wanted to give you a short presentation on the rain event that occurred on June 24th, 2017. If you see, the average rainfall for June in Kenner on a Louisiana average is 7.91 inches. In Kenner, we're a little bit more than that at around 8 inches. And last year, we got 9.78 inches. This year, however, you'll see that we got over 15 inches. And this is over 7 inches more than what we would normally get in the month of June. So on that particular day, we had a tremendous amount of rain come down. Now, as you could see, we had, I believe it's 6 days that had over an inch of rain, and 2 days that had over 2 inches of rain, and 1 day that had over 3 inches of rain. As you can see, we set a record. At one time, 15 inches was considered the third most rain that we've had in this city within that month. As you can see now, we're at the third highest level. That's the third highest level of rain we've had in Kenner for that day. The National Weather Service indicated that there was over 10 inches of rain that fell over the New Orleans area in the 3.5-day period following Cindy. And about 4 or more, a little bit over 4 inches of that rain fell in Kenner. And on Saturday, the 24th, following up just a few days after Cindy, you see that we had 2 separate periods of impact of rain that occurred in Kenner. The first one occurred early in the morning with about a half an inch of rain in less than an hour. And then the second occurred a little after, starting a little after noon. And then we started seeing the large amounts of rain come down, which resulted in 3 inches of rain, additional rain, in another 2-hour period that afternoon. So as you can see from this chart here, this depicts the accumulation of rain in a short period of time in the morning hours. And this shows you the amount of rain that fell within that very short period of time and how much accumulated in that particular period of time. And throughout the day, in the afternoon, you'll see at about 1:53 p.m. we had additional rainfall, and then an hour after that, a substantial amount of rain, I think it's 1.6 inches of rain, fell within that short period of time. So we had a tremendous amount of rain following up just after Cindy, which caused some minor street-level flooding within our city. So the timeline is, beginning early in the morning, is we were notified of a slight risk of intense rain coming our way. And a little after 7 o'clock, our Public Works Department task force was out in the city already doing their cleaning, and they started reporting some intense raining occurring around 32nd Street, some curb height rain in a number of streets around 32nd Street. So they deployed their crews immediately to start cleaning drains in that area. And all of the streets within that area drained by around 11:30 in the morning. Little afternoon is when we started seeing additional rain start falling in the south side of the city. And my office, the Emergency Management Department, and the mayor began working. The mayor deployed to the field to work with Public Works, and I was able to monitor some SCADA systems. That's monitor the pumping stations and the canal levels and lift stations to see what the levels were within the city. And we were also deploying Public Works crews to put out barricades in flooded streets. The police department was doing the same and blocking off streets. And we also initiated some public information activity to alert the citizens what was going on. All this occurred in a pretty short time period, so we were able to get a lot of information out to people very quickly. Later that afternoon is when we started getting reports about some flooding in the residential areas, particularly around 21st Street, then on Blair Street, and then some additional in some areas off of, I believe, Pollock area. So we initially sent our Public Works crews out there to assess it, clean drains, do what they could, and then also to contact Jefferson Parish Drainage to send out crews to determine whether or not there was anything that was going on, checking on the pumps to make sure that they were running, which they were, and also assessing the amount of rain to determine whether or not there was any more rain that was coming in our direction that would necessitate our taking any additional action. So we do know by around 4:30 that afternoon, the streets started clearing up, and so we saw just a very minimal impact as far as residential flooding in a couple of residences. So as you can see, for the month of June, we had a number of days that had some substantial rain over an inch or two, and then one day with 3 inches of rain. So we had quite a few days with some pretty significant rain in June. Here's just some photographs of the street level flooding that occurred within the various areas. And you can see that the water is draining there. This particular caption indicated to us that our drains were working. In fact, in checking with Jefferson Parish, we confirmed that. In addition, also the area of St. Rose experienced similar type of rain and experienced similar type of street level flooding. So it was a clear indication to us our pumps were working, our drainage was working. It's that the water exceeded our pump capacity, and some of our lower lying areas did take on some water. So Jefferson Parish, again, is the agency that operates the pump stations and drainage canals throughout Kenner and throughout the parish. And the Jefferson Parish Drainage Department pump capacity, it can remove about 1 inch of water from the roadway in the first hour and about a half an inch after that. So with the amount of water that we saw, it was very difficult for that water to go down in any short period of time. Again, during these situations, we monitor the SCADA system, which is monitors all the water levels throughout the city. And in follow-up to that, we also contacted Jefferson Parish, and we will be working with them to further assess the drainage in Kenner. This is just a map depicting what type of lift station locations are monitored during a storm event to see what type of water levels are occurring. In addition to this, we also look at the canal levels and the pump station levels through Jefferson Parish's SCADA system. Again, some of the contributing factors that we had because of that caused this event was some daily rain that we've been seeing through June. That's typical of Louisiana, that we see rain every day. We had a tropical weather event. We had saturated ground. We had torrential rainfall affecting Kenner and St. Rose area. We had some low-lying areas that are susceptible to flooding, and the pump capacity was exceeded, and we did locate several clogged and covered-up drains. So this is why, prior to a storm, we always deploy our Public Works crews to clean as many drains as possible. We put out awareness messages alerting people to please clean their drains and to notify us if they cannot. We also check the construction sites, which is something that we did prior to Tropical Storm Cindy coming in. We had the construction going on Canal Number 2, which is a crossover over West Esplanade, and we made contact with them Monday and Tuesday to make sure that that construction material was being removed from that location. We also check other sites where construction is going on to make sure that the contractors haven't put any type of screens or baffles around the drains in residential areas. So that's my presentation. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Doe. Councilwoman DeFranchise, you have the floor.
I'm sorry, it must not have canceled from before, I apologize.
Okay, that's okay. Councilman Nipostato, you have the floor, sir.
Mr. Dote, and this may involve the Public Works Director too. One of the common questions that we get, or should I get, I assume my colleagues do as well, when there's a rain event, we'll get calls that say, can you tell them to turn the pumps on? Can you explain, since you touched on that topic, just give a little brief synopsis of how does that work, the pumps and whatnot? Just a little, maybe a Cliff Notes version.
Sure. Well, what happens is, as soon as there's any type of storm that's predicted, Jefferson Parish is the same type of setup that we have. We start monitoring these canals and the pump stations and lift stations, and they will pump down the canals as much as possible to an acceptable level. And then as the water accumulates in those canals, the pumps are automatically turned on and monitored by the parish. So there is no situation where the pumps would not be turned on. They're automatic. And then the pumping employees will monitor those stations and actually deploy to individual stations to make sure those pumps are working.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dote.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman DeFranchise,
This time
now
I
you
have
have the floor.
something. Excuse me. When Jose Gonzalez was Director of Public Works, he mentioned something to me because I used to get questions about why is there water in our street? I mean, again, it goes back to your question, Councilman Impastato. But what he also mentioned to me was it's not because the pumps aren't on, it's not because there's flooding the street, but the way our system is set up, it is set up so there would be a certain amount of water in the streets as the system is working. Am I not correct with the information he provided?
Sure, and again, if the amount of water exceeds the capacity of the pumps, then that water is going to remain in the streets until the pumps can catch up to drain that particular amount of water.
Because I do remember as soon as there was even half an inch, they would call, and I would have to explain to them what, you just explained and what Mr. Gonzalez had explained to me. So I wanted people to feel comfortable. If there's this much water in the street, it doesn't mean the pumps are on, doesn't mean it's not working. The system is set up that way.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And Mr. Dote, I'd just like to say that the reality is, thank you for all of the statistical information, and people want to know that, read that, and see that. But when it comes down to the situation, particularly I'm speaking about District 1, and particularly from the airline south of District 1, it doesn't matter if you have 3 inches or 3 feet of water in your home. If you have an inch, it's an inch too much that you don't want to have to deal with. And that's the reality that over this past couple of weeks that we as a community had to deal with. I spoke to people who have been living there longer than I have, and to them, it was the first time they've ever experienced the quantity of water standing so long. And to me, that was one of the things that, thank you guys for addressing it. Thank the mayor for calling, finding out what's going on. You got people out there to stop, to put up barricades from sightseers coming around, driving their vehicles in the water, to people who are really having challenges. All of those things were done, and it was great. But like I said, people just want to know that we're going to be able to react to those things. The reality is, the parish has responsibilities. We have responsibilities as far as it relates to the drainage. In South Kenner particularly, we are limited to the number of outlets that we have to drain the water. I think it's 3, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 for the water to leave. So we're limited to that. We're in the beginning of the hurricane season. Obviously, there are preparations. I've gotten commitments from yourself and from the Public Works Department that there will be a schedule in place to be able to look at every drainage situation to ensure that nothing is impeding it at all. So I'd just like to get an update on that next week. because we have to start from Fillmore Street all the way to the parish line, which is Alliance. We have to check everything that needs to be checked because we are in the beginning of the hurricane season. We have to check it to ensure nothing is impeding it. So I like to get the information while we have a chance right now. It's not raining a whole lot now, to be able to ensure that the parish and the city have done what we needed to do to ensure nothing is impeding it. Listen, act of God, nobody can control that, but there are some preventive maintenance we can do. And I think if it's not part of the initial preventive maintenance for the hurricane season, it should be to ensure that all the drains, not only in District 1, but the entire city, we check those to make sure nothing is stopping it. So, I'll be talking to you next week about getting that schedule to be able to see where we're going, moving from A to B to ensure things are clear. And pray to God that we don't get any more water like that staining, because, I was out riding around up until 10 o'clock. I've never seen water up until 10 o'clock at night staining that long like I did on that particular date. Never. From Fillmore till about Williams and around that area, the water had subsided. But in the Pollock, Henson City area, quote unquote, back of the track, as we, call, the water was there. I mean, it was there and it was high, and it was there until 10 o'clock at night. And there was nothing we can do. Like you said, prior to that, the grounds were saturated from previous rains. So it was a combination of things that went on prior to that we had to deal with. So again, thanks for all the support. Hopefully, we'll be able to check all of those things to make sure that, we are in place to address as much as we can humanly possibly correct for the next time that it happens. But, thanks again for all you guys. And one thing, when people are upset about this, and the people that come out to work, they take a lot of arrows from people. They handle it professionally, not to get in an altercation with the people who live in the community. They address them, sir, yes, ma'am. We're going to do our best. And that, even though it can't take that water out of their houses for the people, it does give them a sense of respect. And I appreciate that. And we must always maintain that. So thanks again. We look forward, to ensuring that in the future we'll do the best that we can. And there are some things I'll be talking to Mayor Zion about, some ideas that I have, but that's for another occasion. He and I will be talking about that along with his administration. Councilman Segura, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Just to sort of echo some of what Greg's issues were, because we were both experiencing them in our districts that day. And I know, Doug, you've touched on the statistical data that shows it was a very unusual day for rain. But unfortunately, as Greg did and I did, talking to the residents who had water in their house, that doesn't help them out at that moment to say, well, yeah, I'm the victim of a heavy rain day. So we are, I know I see one of my residents here that had water in his house. We are, I know you're not in the Public Works Department anymore, I presume. So the new CFO and the director are here. So just understand for the residents that were victimized in my district that the city Public Works Department drainage, with the mayor's instructions, have been very straightforward and diligent to come out to the street, 2200 block of Connecticut, and work on trying to resolve this, even though we don't know if we'll ever have a statistically high rain date again, but just even a lower rain date, because there are multiple problems, as we discussed. We had the high rain date. We have drains that have not been cleaned out on a regular basis as they could be, just because of the volume of drains in the city, but particularly in this block, because it was half of the block was part of the airport buyout, and there was no maintenance done on drains for close to probably 20 years now. So those drains have been covered up, filled up with debris, covered up now with grass. But thanks to the Public Works departments, they have been out there practically every day doing some work. Today they dug out and removed damaged drain lines. And we are going to continue working in that block to get proper drainage working so that the waters leave and leave faster than they did on this particular day. What we're doing is a temporary help. The next step is those properties have been purchased and are owned privately now, and those developments are going to be presenting themselves through the process. And as that occurs, then we will be working with those developers on how to ensure that the water on their property gets out of their property properly into our drainage system and not spread out through the neighborhood, which was certainly part of this problem for flooding in these houses. So for the residents that, like I said, I see Mr. Jerry here, but the others that are not here, you know, the city is diligently working on trying to stop this from occurring again, and steps are being taken daily until we can hopefully get a fix in place to be more comfortable that it won't happen again. But it's just temporary, that what you see now. We have more permanent work coming later. Thank you.
I don't see anyone else wishing to talk. So thank you, Mr. Dope. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 12,258, an ordinance amending ordinance number 11,274 to correct an erroneous bid number and an award to FMF Group LLC.
Motion by Councilman Impastato, second by Councilwoman DeFranchis. Councilman, please vote.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. Item 12B is summary ordinance number 12,263, a special hiring ordinance to allow Michael T. Wetzel and Wendy K. Foss to be department heads and maintain a residence outside the city of Kenner as allowed under Kenner's Home Rule Charter, Section 4.33.
Motion by Councilman Impastato, second by Councilman Segura. We have discussions.
Yeah, I do, I guess. I'm the only.
Councilwoman DeFranchis, you have the.
Let him go
No,
first.
I don't. After Mr. Brown, we'll be able to hear you. I don't think there's a public hearing right now. But after, before we vote, you'll have the opportunity to speak. Thank you, sir. Councilwoman DeFranchis, you have the floor.
First of all, this came up in a discussion that we had on the second floor. Today, we had an agenda meeting. And what I mentioned at the meeting, I'm going to say publicly, how uncomfortable I was because of this particular ordinance that's coming up before us. I have, especially Ms. Foss and I go back a long way. I have the highest regard for her. She is a wonderful, wonderful department head. She's accessible. She does a great job. I do have a problem, unfortunately, and I specifically spoke about Ms. Foss because of my relationship with her. People voted in the city of Kenner, 72%, that directors had to live in the city of Kenner. There's been some discussion about what the intent was and about the special hiring ordinance. However, when people voted, and everyone with whom I've spoken, every single person has said, when we voted, we believe we were voting to say that department heads must live in the city of Kenner. That's the way we voted. And so when 72% of this city feels that that is the way it should be, that department heads have to live in the city of Kenner, then I'm obliged to listen to the people that voted. Now, some questions came up about what happened during previous administrations about interim people that were hired as interim directors. I will say that when two of our interim people that worked in the city attorney's office, I spoke with each of them before I voted. Neither one of them wanted to be permanently in those positions. I can tell you that that Mr. Power was the last one there. And in fact, I thought he was such a great city attorney that I tried to convince him to be in the city of Kenner, to stay in the city of Kenner and be permanent in that position. He said, absolutely not. I'm doing this on a temporary basis, and that's all I want. And so when I did vote for the two people that were accepting interim positions, they were truly interim positions as far as I knew and based on what they had told me at the time. And that's why I felt comfortable voting for them. I would not have been able to vote otherwise. So despite the fact that it breaks my heart, I can't support this because, again, I believe laws should be changed. When we don't agree with the law, we don't just ignore the law, we change the law. And I have no problem if we change this law. I'd be delighted to support it if that's what the people of Kenner want. But I think we have to follow existing laws as they are. Now, there are differing opinions. I will be very honest to tell you that some of our city attorneys believe that the special hiring provision allows the administration to go ahead and put these two wonderful people up for a vote. But unfortunately, having spoken to people and knowing the position of the people and how they voted, I feel conscious I can't do it. So despite, with a heavy heart, I am taking this time to say that out loud because I want people to know that I think those two people are great. I approve of them. I hope that we can change the law in the future, but at the time I have to vote on what is before me at this time. Thank you for allowing me this chance to speak on it.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Reyno, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also agree with Councilwoman DeFrances, but I want to add a little something to this. First of all, I haven't asked directly, Mr. Wetzel, do you live in Kenner?
No, sir.
Do you plan in the next 6 months moving to Kenner?
No, sir.
Mrs. Fols, do you live in Kenner? Do you plan in the next 6 months moving to Kenner? And I feel real bad asking those questions, but that's what the charter says, and that's what the people voted on. I would like to add something, that this is an ordinance that's put up, and I have the charter open right now, section 4.33, and it does say provided by special ordinance, but it also says, but within 6 months of their appointment, they shall become residents of the city and the state. The prior time that we voted on this, Councilwoman DeFrances said that she talked to both Mr. Gruntz and Mr. Power, and I also talked to them, and they both said that they were taking this as an interim. That was not passed by ordinance. I have both of them here. They were passed by resolution. A resolution is a lot different than an ordinance. On both of these resolutions, it's clear it says interim position. Both of those people knew it was an interim. Let me step back. I, as a council member, having discussed it with both of these people, knew that it was an interim position. I believe that Mrs. Fols is very well qualified, and this is nothing personal. Same thing with Mr. Wetzel. The bottom line is the people have spoken. We have a charter. The charter is basically the rules that govern this city, and that's what the people, this is how the people want our city governed. And if the people don't want it governed that way now, and they want to change it, then I have to agree with Councilwoman DeFrances. Let's put a charter change amendment up and let the people vote again, and let's see, maybe they want to change it, okay? But right now, I have to go with what's on the charter. So I will also not be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Brown, you have the floor, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Skew, do you want to speak?
Well,
I have-
hold on, Mr. Brown. I didn't see it.
Let him go. I'm okay.
Okay.
No, I thought the other councilmen were ahead of me too, so
Yeah, I
that's
didn't
why.
see it on the queue until just
Okay.
now.
But doesn't matter the order.
Well, maybe we're going to be able to talk after the vote, before we vote anyway. So, Mr. Brown, sir, please. Name and address.
Thank you, Mr. President. Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. And you were right, Mr. President, this is not scheduled as a public hearing, but because of the open meetings law, we have the right to speak on every issue on the agenda. I have to agree, I agree with the comments by Councilmember DeFrances and Reyno both. I'm president of Citizens for a Better Kenner. We have discussed this among ourselves. Our board has discussed it. I have polled many of our members plus other friends. Our position and my position is the charter means what it says and says what it means, and the people adopted it. The intent is that department heads either be Kenner residents when they're hired or at least become Kenner residents within 6 months. We believe that needs to be enforced. There are different ways you can interpret the first 7 words of that provision where it says, except as provided by a specific hiring ordinance. One way of interpreting it is that the council cannot enlarge these provisions. It cannot grant a waiver, but it can tighten the provisions. That this council could say, no, we're not going to give people 6 months. We're only going to give them 3 months. Or we're going to require that they be residents of the city of Kenner from the day they're hired. The other way of interpreting it is that you can grant waivers, but I think the clear reading of this provision, and I think the pretty obvious intent of the drafters of the charter, is that it have to be, any specific hiring ordinance must be done at the time of hiring. I don't think you can come in, and it's certainly not right, and I think it's contrary at least to the intent of the charter to retroactively grant a waiver to somebody who was hired years ago, who did live in the city, but has chosen to move out. And I agree, I have heard only good things about Wendy Foltz and Mr. Wetzel. Nothing against them personally, nothing at all. I just think we need to enforce the charter. And at least as to Ms. Foltz, when you choose to move out of the city, knowing you have to be a resident, I just think it perverts the purpose of the charter to allow it. And although it may seem harsh, and it's no offense against either one of those 2 individuals, I urge the council to vote no on this. We need to start enforcing the charter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Name and address, please.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 45 years. Once again, I agree with Councilwoman DeFrances and Councilman Reyno. I'm sure these 2 individuals are fine individuals, well qualified. But the charter is what it is, just like Mr. Brown just said. This is what governs our city. This is the rules we follow. And unless the council wants to put a referendum on the ballot in the next election to amend that charter, we have to stick with our charter. And if you all don't plan on becoming residents of the city of Kenner, well, that's the end of that. We appreciate your service while you were here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Segura, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. A couple comments relative to the discussion we just had between council members and audience members. On the terminology or words in the charter, I'm now going to ask our city attorney's office to please give a explanation of the specific words that are in the charter and what they mean.
Yes, sir. So we were asked to give a legal opinion on this issue before the special hiring ordinance was put forward for your consideration, and it is our position that the 3 phrases before the independent phrase, or the only independent phrase in 4.33, which says department heads or board members need not be residents, but within 6 months, shall become residents, that those modify that phrase. So there are exceptions to the provision which says that they shall, within 6 months of their appointment, become residents of the city. So except as provided by specific hiring ordinance, it's our position and it's our legal opinion that that is clear language, that if you put forward a special hiring ordinance, that it is, it's allowed the exception of not having to live within the city within 6 months is allowed. And it really is of no moment that this is being put forward after their appointments or after they were hired, because I believe, you know, with at least Mr. Wetzel, I don't think he's even been appointed to this position for 6 months yet. But that's our legal opinion. We actually got an outside legal opinion which supports our legal opinion that this is both legal and proper, this ordinance that's before you tonight.
Okay. The language you referred to that says that through special, how did it read? Special
Hiring ordinance.
When was that voted into the charter?
I believe that's been in the charter since the charter was enacted in 1974. So I think that the comments or the statements made as to the vote in, I don't know if it was 2012, I think that was the year, I don't think they're representative of what was, what the voters were asked to change. They weren't asked to remove that exception, and I don't remember the specific call, Councilman Segura, but it wasn't that this provision be repealed, but this language has been in the charter since it was enacted in '74.
So in the wisdom of the city in 1974, when it voted for this charter, and the language said that the mayor by special ordinance can hire directors,
Specific.
that's been in place. The fact that later in time, a language was put back before the voters that, in my personal opinion, was flawed because it did not repeal or clean up the charter to take that portion out and say that this stands alone. You created a conflict. You have something that was drafted and put up for voters to vote that says one thing, but since you didn't repeal the other part of the charter that says it's okay, which one do we support? So your opinion is that they're both good, but either one can be supported and worked on.
That is correct.
And even, you said you had outside opinion from another law firm?
We did. We actually got an outside opinion from Blue Williams, just in case, you know, our opinion was questioned, which obviously it is being questioned, that substantiates and actually endorses our opinion that this is both legal and proper, and that a specific hiring ordinance can deviate from the requirement that they, you know, directors, department heads move with, you know, to the city and become residents within 6 months. So,
Okay, well, thank you. Well, as the other two council members have said, you know, their intention is to support the charter. It's certainly mine, and I'm sure every councilman's desire and commitment to support our charter. It's just that sometimes we're now in a dilemma that, you know, we're asked to say, well, I want to do this one, but I want to ignore this, and vice versa. So that is really the factor that whichever vote we take, in whichever way you vote, you are supporting the charter, because we're not saying that the provision that says you must be a resident on hiring or move there within 6 months is the only charter provision that is allowable. We have a charter provision, as you said, that's been there since 1974 that was never changed and removed, that says that a special hiring provision can be put forth in this process. It comes before the council as an ordinance and has its openness in this session and in comments, and then a vote is taken to.
and I just want to add, in fact, the charter does actually distinguish between both residency and domicile, and mentions in other sections that domicile and being a qualified elector of the city, that obviously is required for, you know, you all and for the mayor and for the chief. But you can have many residences, you have only one domicile. So the fact that there is that distinction is also important to the opinion.
Thank you. Well, so as I said, you know, it certainly creates a dilemma in my mind and puts me at an awkward position, as Councilwoman DeFrances reiterated, that I'm now being, on one hand, asked to go against a provision in the charter that's been there since 1974 in place of something that was put in place some years back. And yet, if the intent of that particular charter referendum was to do what it as they said was voted on, then the proper language should have been put into that referendum to say, and repeal section da-da-da-da-da that allowed for this to take place. But by that language not being put in there, it, to me, created a flaw in that particular referendum to hold its bucket of water as it's being asked to tonight. So I would suggest we do take a look at this and put some referendums back before the public to say, well, do we clean it up by taking this out, or do we remove this? And clearly, with the intent of getting a clear answer, put that back out to the voters to tell us which way they want. Because if I say, as that referendum said, well, hey, here's a choice, and you didn't understand that even though you voted overwhelmingly in this factor, but you didn't do this, that this is still possible, I think was certainly confusing to not only the public, but certainly future council members who have to now be asked to vote on something that the mayor is asking us to do. So I would say that at this point, I have no problem defending the charter. And that is, at this point, voting in favor of this because it is defending the charter and has that right to do so. But would strongly say, then let's put some language up for another referendum to be voted on to clearly clarify what the intent is.
Well, and let me just state, the position of my office is that the charter is very clear, that,
It's clear to me now that either one is clear to do. And that's why I'm saying, but if based upon what I've heard from my colleagues is that the public's opinion is that this is what the public wanted, but that's not what really happened, because when they voted, they didn't clean up because that language was not put into that draft. So the authors of that referendum erred, and to me, in not putting that clearly into that referendum to say, we do this, and then we're going to take this out to ensure that it doesn't happen. That was something that took place, so we'll deal with that at a next referendum and clean up those words. But as it stands right now, any vote we take is defending the charter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Pistola, you have the floor, sir.
I will be supporting this ordinance. I don't know what the legislative history was. I have no idea what went into the minds of the voters that passed. You didn't like where I was going, huh?
No, it automatically turned off, I'm sorry.
I wish I was so intuitive to know what the thousands of voters who passed the charter amendment in 1974 were thinking when they voted for this. I just don't. Candidly, I wasn't even around when that was passed, but that's neither here nor there. But I don't know. I don't know what the history is. When we look at ordinances, when we look at statutes statewide and we try and figure out what were the drafters contemplating, we have the benefit of things like legislative history. In fact, I think Mr. Brown and I even spoke about that on the phone. And so where there is ambiguity, when we get to the principles of statutory construction, which is where we are now, is we have a statute. It's not a statute. It's a charter amendment, but it's the same premise. A statute is in place. The principles of statutory construction say only where there is ambiguity do you then go to legislative history. So if we were confused on this, we would look to that legislative history. We would have committee notes. We would have hearings. We would have all kinds of things that might give some guidance or a court guidance. We don't have that in this case, not because Kenner did anything wrong. It's just the nature of municipalities and the way ordinances and whatnot are passed. So we don't have that. We can't, in my opinion, infer what the intent was of the voters at that time. I'm just not willing to do that because I don't know. What I do know is that the facts are that an ordinance was passed, an amendment, a charter amendment was passed with the language as it is now. And the only legal opinions, the only lawyers who have reviewed this that have given us an opinion have said that the clause, except in a special hiring ordinance, permits this process to go forward. So it appears legal and comports with the charter. And this is not a matter of violating the charter. It's a reasonable interpretation. And that's another principle of statutory construction that we're aware of, is where you have an option, where there are two or more reasonable interpretations, that reasonable interpretation that gives effect to those provisions is the one that should be adopted. So giving effect to that clause, I would have to assume that based on the language, and I think our council's opinion has been, if the intention was to never allow the exception, then that clause wouldn't exist. There would be no exception. It would be very easy to have done that and not have that initial clause. So if there is ambiguity, I certainly agree with all of my colleagues here, particularly Councilman DeFrancis and Reno, that the remedy for that is to go to a charter, to put an amendment forward. And if that is in fact what people vote for, I'm all for it. That's fine. All I know that I can vote on tonight is, what does the language say? Does the language today permit that? And the only lawyers that I know of that have weighed in on it have told us it's permissible because of that initial clause that says except in a special hiring ordinance. And I think we can try and glean the public protection that comes from that clause, because what it does is it prevents, whether it was Mayor Yenny, Mayor Congemi, Broussard, Mayor Zahn, it doesn't matter, prevents them from hiring someone from outside the jurisdiction without giving the public adequate and ample opportunity to comment on that process. Because it is done in an ordinance, there is a public hearing process that takes place that I would imagine, and I think we would all agree, protects the public. This came on first reading last meeting 2 weeks ago. So that's letting the public know this is coming up. And what did it do? It yielded public comment, which is great. That's what we want. We want to invite the public comment. It brought people here from the public to talk about it and give us their thoughts. So at that point in time, what we have the opportunity to hear is someone make a case, or people make a case for why these particular people would not be appropriate in that position. Maybe it's because of their geographical location of their home. There may very well be positions where the geography of their home outside the jurisdiction prevents them from adequately performing their job. It could be. I don't know. I don't believe we have that before us, because every single person that has spoken has commended Mr. Wetzel and Ms. Fols on the job that they're doing. So if we got anything from the public comment, and I appreciate and I totally respect both Ms. Morella and Mr. Brown and how they read the charter and how they believe it should be interpreted. I mean, that's fair. It's totally fair. But I also appreciate their comments that these two people are doing a good service for the city and doing the job. And I assume would agree can do it from wherever the locality of their homes are, excuse me. So with that, I do think that provision provides for the public comment, protects the public, makes this an open process so everybody knows there's no secrets, nothing being done behind closed door. It's all out in the open, and so I think it does protect the public. And look, if there's an interpretation otherwise by a court, a judge, obviously we'll have to abide by that. But absent that, I'm going to have to go with the legal opinions that we've gotten that suggest that this is appropriate. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Wilmot, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to ditto what Councilman Impostata just said, and he said it in such a clear fashion as well. Ms. Foltz and Mr. Wetzel, both of them, I have heard nothing but good stuff. And y'all have done good stuff. Everything I've seen has been quality. So it's very important. That's an important factor to consider. Both of y'all are very capable. As far as our charter is concerned, I believe, too, our charter, you got to maintain our charter. Whatever the words are, you got to maintain it. And again, legal counsel for the council has said that this is allowable. And if I may hear you say that, Ms. Roussel, is this allowable in according to your opinion?
Yes, sir. Both legal and proper, yes, sir.
Okay, and Mr. Rapier, how do you feel about this? Okay, I've talked to both of y'all at extent about this, and that's what I'm getting. And I understand that there's actually an outside opinion, and y'all have discussed that as well, so I'm kind of being repetitive here, but I just wanted to rehash it a little bit. And as far as that outside opinion, and what did they say?
They said the same thing, sir, that it's both legal and proper, that while the charter contemplates a residency rule, the first, provision does allow for exception to that rule.
So based upon that, I feel like I'm compelled to support this as well. I have been on the fence toggling with this. However, with those legal opinions, the charter is a legal document. I mean, that's what we live by in the city of Kenner. And it's important to understand it, and of course, they got a lot of legal phrases in it. So with that, I'm going to support both these ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Klein, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We all want to maintain the charter. We think these individuals are doing a great job. Also, all the lawyers agree, the city lawyers, the outside lawyers. I happen to be a lawyer, too. I read the charter. I read the exception. This clearly, in my opinion, fits under the exception that by ordinance, the council can do this. So for those reasons, I will be supporting the ordinance as well.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor, excuse me, sir. Sir, are you wanting to address this particular Okay. Well, come on up. Please state your name and address.
My name is Greg Taft. I live at 3720 West Loyola Drive in Kenner. The only comment I want to make is, most and foremost, the city council has a fiduciary responsibility to represent its constituents. If the constituents voted for something, they voted on what information that was given to them at the time of that vote. And I would think that the council would recognize what the people would have been thinking when they voted for something like that based on information, what they wanted, what their intent was. And the charter is an example of your constituents' intent. Now, you can twist anything in the world you want. Attorneys have a great time in court because the idea is whoever puts on the best show and the best talk presents the best case will win, but does it really make it right? How can you go against the people? That's the only thing. I'm only saying your responsibility is fiduciary to your constituents. And you know, how you want to interpret it. If the charter says this, you know the intent of the public. If you want to vote against, if you want to tell your voters you're stupid, you don't know what you're voting on, hey, go ahead and vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg. Mayor Zahn, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Council Chairman. I'm going to reiterate what some of the council people have said. I was here, Councilwoman DeFrancis was here in 2012 when these, in 2006, 2007. I was here when that happened, and that vote was to reverse what the charter had. What we didn't put out there, and what we should have done, like this gentleman just said, is that we should have actually had something on there that actually clarified what was already in the charter. I guess that council that I belong to failed to do that, and I guess another council since then has failed to do that. I guess numerous council people with changes in all these seats, because I know I had an interim councilman when I left. I know District 1 has had probably 3 or 4 council people since that time, at least 3. There's been interim council people, there's been movement. Nobody, no council has put anything out there to clarify it. This administration is not going around the charter. We're not having our attorneys interpret anything any differently than what previous attorneys that sat in this seat, in the city attorney's seat, actually interpreted. We went further, though. We went further, and this city attorney's office, as per our request, got another opinion. Have you all been supplied with that opinion from Blue Williams? We have copies. I'm sure the city attorney is going to hand that out right now because I'm requesting to do that. I've had discussions, really probably only with Councilman Wilmot on this issue because him and I had a lot of good discussion. At first, Councilman Wilmot asked, in 2 years, can we revisit this? I came back and what did I say? I'll give you a year. I'll give you a year to revisit this. These people have to have time to actually move into the city of Kenner. I could have come to you all, or not come to you all, I could have just said they are interim directors. I would think that no one, because I don't want that, and the residents sitting behind me, I don't think would want me to mask people that I intend on keeping as interim. I refuse to do that. I refuse to fool the public. I will not fool the public. I will not be asked by any council member to do that because I think it's improper. I'm not going to come to you and do maybe what past administrations did. I don't know. If that's what they told if that's what they told councils, that they were going to call them interim for a period of time, I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. If there is a director that comes to me and needs to be interim, that they require to be interim because they don't know where they're going if they are here for a short period of time, then yes, I would do that. I would make them interim. Ms. Foltz has been here for a number of years. Mr. Wetzel came after I left. He looks very, very comfortable here. He's a very good director. He just doesn't happen to live here. I've asked Councilman Wilmot, him and I talking many times, that I would like to revisit this in 1 year. I don't think we need to revisit it in 6 months. So I have a question for my employees. I ask Ms. Foltz right now, in 1 year, July 1st, would you consider moving to the city of Kenner to establish residency or reside here? Yes, sir. Mr. Wetzel, same question. Yes, sir. That's the question that should have been asked. That's the question we need to ask them. What are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? Give these people a year. We're all facing an election in March. I think people want to make sure that council people and the administration return, and our chief of police return. They want to be comfortable before they uproot. I'm not going to discuss Ms. Foltz's issues that she has to move back to Metairie for a period of time. I'm not going to discuss Mr. Wetzel's personal issues. But you know what? I am going to tell you all and inform you all that are questioning what we're doing here and implying that we're not enforcing the charter, that people are not beating down the door in the city of Kenner to take these director positions. Let me just quote that our Mr. Wetzel, our finance director, makes 109. Do you know what the city of New Orleans finance director makes? I don't get any ideas of leaving. The average CFO makes $307,000. We can't compete with that. This council can't compete with that. We just went through budget hearings. This administration can't compete with that. Ms. Foltz makes $61,000. This is all public records. I don't mind discussing this. This is not personal for them. In New Orleans, it's $97,000, right at $97,000. We can't compete with that. There's some salaries we cannot compete with, and you know what? I don't think we need to do that because we have a lot of other pressing needs, and these people are working for those dollars, and I appreciate what they're doing. I appreciate the 4 council people so far that have stated that they approve of what we're doing. We are not circumventing the charter. That seems to be a popular thing right now, that some people like to say that this administration may be doing that. I defend the charter. I enforce the charter. I plan on doing that. I will continue to do that, and I appreciate this council's support as we do those things, supporting our charter, defending it like we're doing in other issues that are presented to us right now. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And before we vote on it, I thank everyone that's spoken, and I'll throw my little 2 cents in. First of all, I won't even digress to try to address, or one way or another, as it relates to the professionalism of the 2 individuals we was talking about. I won't even mention that because it's almost insulting to do that, and I won't do that. I will say that I agree. I think that from an interpretation standpoint, that there's nothing wrong from a legal standpoint for this to be brought to us. Nothing at all wrong with that. I am not an attorney like all of my friends to the right here. I could never explain it using the jargon that they use too. I'm not an attorney. I can't do that. So I have to be able to use my own interpretation, to be able to use my own, what I have from a South Kenner boy, to say what I believe at the time of this. And it may have been flawed at that time, and probably maybe it was. But like Mr. Gregg said, the people at the time, it was our fault because we did not make it clear. It wasn't clarity. And for me, who was a voter at that time, I know what on behalf of myself what I thought it should be. So I'm not disagreeing that with the attorneys, even though, as we all know, you get a lot of attorneys, you're going to get a lot of opinions all the time. But the fact is, the intent, I'm just basing it on the intent. At the time, the intent of the people had a position. And I am basing my opinion on that, what the intent was at that time, and that's my opinion. And you know, I'm not going to try to skirt it and say I'm this or that. No, I am not supporting it because the intent at the time for the voters was that, and that's how I feel right now, and that's how I'm going to go forward with my vote. So, you know, that's sometimes you just have to do that. Nothing against anybody else. That's just my position right now on this. You know, what happens in the future? Do I believe it should be changed or whatever? That's not relevant right now. What's relevant right now is we're voting on this right now. Do I agree with it just based on the merit that it is? Has nothing to do with the individuals. And that's my position. But I will not be supporting it because, you know, I feel that this is the intent that I understand it to be. So, Madam Clerk, could you read it again before we call it to a vote, please?
Yes, sir, I'll be glad to. Item 12B is summary ordinance number 12,263, a special hiring ordinance to allow Michael T. Wetzel and Wendy K. Foss to be department heads and maintain a residence outside the city of Kenner as allowed under Kenner's Home Rule Charter, Section 4.33.
And because we don't have the system and because there seems to be an opinion ranging from one end to the other end, as opposed to just shouting it out, we're going to go from there all the way across. So motion by Councilman Impastato, second by Councilman Segura. Councilman Segura? Yay. Councilman Reno?
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. Councilman Wilmot? Yay. Councilman Klein?
Yay.
Councilman Impastato?
Yay.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 4-3. Council members Carroll, DeFrances, and Reno are opposed. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution appointing a council president. I'm sorry, this item was taken earlier in the meeting. Item 13B was taken earlier. Item 13C, a resolution calling for a charter authorized inquiry by the Kenner City Council under Article 11, the council, Section 2.30 and Section 2.31 into all issues relating to a recently filed federal lawsuit by unclassified mayor, appointed city employees, including origin of said lawsuit, and the appointment process of special counsel to represent the city and its citizens. The contract signed with said special counsel and all costs both paid and estimated in connection with the said contract. Mr. Chairman, we've received a request this evening for an indefinite deferral. The motion was Councilmember Segura, and I believe Councilman Klein would second the motion for an indefinite deferral.
Motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilman Klein for an indefinite deferral.
Yes, sir.
Councilman, please vote.
No, we have a request to speak on the
Oh,
deferral.
sorry about that. On the deferral, someone to speak before we vote. Councilman Klein, you have the floor, sir.
I don't have anything to say.
On there to go. Councilwoman DeFrances, you have,
I believe he was first. I pressed mine second, did I not?
Councilman Reno, I just didn't see your name up here. Councilman Reno, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I'm surprised that I'm learning about this on the dais right now for an indefinite deferral. I had spoken with some of the other council members, and they asked me for a one-meeting deferral, and I had agreed to that. And now we're trying to indefinitely defer something. There is litigation right now that needs to be discussed based on a resolution that was passed.
Excuse me, I have a point of order.
Okay.
Mr. Roussel, could you please answer my question? Can we continue with a discussion when a party to the suit is asking for this discussion?
Well, that's one issue. The other issue I was going to mention, Councilman Reno, is you want to be careful. You need to speak on the deferral only. But being that you and Councilwoman DeFrances are parties, intervener, you intervened in the suit. It's tricky for me to give you advice on the actual litigation, but because of the bar rules, and you guys are actually represented by an attorney. But I think that you may want to abstain from any vote on this issue and/or recuse yourself in accordance with Rule 18, being that you have a personal interest in the matter.
Attorney Russell, excuse me, but without going into to details, could you enlighten us a little bit more on your professional opinion about where we are right now before we get into something?
Well,
I would appreciate that.
You're on the deferral, but it seemed as though Councilman Reyno was delving into the substance of 13C. So
No,
before the,
I actually was not.
well, it seemed that way to me, sir, so.
Okay. So whenever I can get the floor back, I'll be more than happy, and if I'm out of order, somebody can call me out of order,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Councilman Reyno, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I am speaking on the deferral, and the
Councilman
charter.
Reyno, I think Councilman Sigurd had the floor, being that he made a point of order. So, I mean, if I answered your question, Councilman Sigurd, I don't know that I did.
I'm not sure, because I know you gave some cordial reference to not legal advice, but pointing them to get legal advice. And obviously, they've probably chosen not to, because he continues to want to talk, so that's his decision. But since we are, at this point, only on a deferral, how do we decipher when there's, as he said, out of order to calling back in order? If he wants to continue talking on a deferral, but where does that line get crossed to say he's going beyond that?
I don't think I should advise him on that. If the councilman, from District 3 wants to talk on the deferral, then I think he should be
Yeah.
allowed to.
I think as the council chair, Councilman Moreno, I obviously have the right to address it. If it seems as if he's going into the area of discussion as opposed to the deferral, then I will interrupt him accordingly and say, sir, let's back off. So, Councilman Segura, if that
No, that's
satisfies
fine, as
you,
long as you're going to
Yes.
take over that.
I will do my best.
Thank you.
I just got an attorney course from over here, from my friend over there, Councilman Stata. So, Councilman Moreno, please continue, sir.
Thank you, sir. According to the resolution that's on the floor right now that I'm talking about, the indefinite deferral, it's simply calling for a charter-authorized inquiry. That's what it's calling for, which the charter clearly states that we can do. That's number one. Number two, we are the governing authority of the city of Kenner. And a resolution number B16501 that was passed June 19th, 2014, establishes a policy of notification to the governing authority. So I'm going to ask my fellow council members to not defer this indefinitely, and I'm willing to defer it for a one-meeting deferral if you choose not to defer it indefinitely. Thank you.
Okay, now it's my turn.
Councilman Klein, your name popped back up. For some reason, it keep popping up.
it's the computer thing when they swap.
Right.
Oh, okay,
I'm done.
okay. Councilwoman DeFranchis, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you all. I simply wanted to talk about the deferral. When I was on the second floor and we had the agenda meeting, there were some issues that arose. And then I went back upstairs and I did a little research and I asked some questions about procedure and things that needed to be done first and maybe that weren't done. So after that time frame in which, again, I did my research and asked my questions, I went to some of my fellow councilmen with whom I had the opportunity to speak, and that was Councilman Reyno and Councilman Carroll. And my suggestion was that we do a one-meeting deferral. At this point, it didn't seem like we should move forward, even with the inquiry, in the sense that I thought there were some things that should have been done that had not been done yet. And if those things took place, it might not be necessary to have an inquiry. Having said that, I thought I had convinced Councilman Carroll and Councilman Reyno to go forward with a one-meeting deferral. I also felt, although I didn't have the opportunity to speak with them, that because of the agenda meeting, I felt confident that Councilman Segura would probably be in favor of a deferral, whatever deferral. But, excuse me, I'm talking about the deferral that
I thought you were asking me a question.
No, I was saying with the deferral that I was going to propose, I felt confident that at least for that deferral, whatever it was, he would be in favor of, having picked up on what the conversation was on the second floor. And I thought that Councilman Wilmot was not comfortable with moving forward on that either, and therefore a deferral would be preferable. And so I thought that that was something appropriate that I should do, and that is put forward a deferral for at least one meeting. We had spoken possibly about two. I know Councilman Carroll had mentioned 2 meetings. And when I spoke to our council clerk and called her up here to say, look, I'm going to be proposing this, I've already spoken to our new council president. She informed me that someone else had already made a request, and that I would believe was Councilman Segura, for his indefinite deferral. At that point, I didn't know it was an indefinite deferral, by the way, just that it was a deferral, I believe. And I was going to make the same request for number 18 when we had to vote on the executive session, again, to ask for a deferral. So I wanted to put on the record that there were some attempts, at least for council members up here, to work together to try to hash out some of these some of these situations that maybe were uncomfortable, and that we were not in a position where we should be voting on them at this time, to work together with the administration and have time to talk it out, have time to even put in written requests on maybe some information we had not been given yet. So I wanted to put on the record that no matter what the vote is, there was an intent by most members of this council, whether it was for indefinite deferral as some wanted, or a 1 or 2 meeting deferral, to give us all time to work together as a group with the administration. And I thought it was important enough to put it on the record, because I didn't want the people in the audience and the people at home to think that this council and this administration, that together we are not willing to move forward, but rather that we are willing to move forward and work together to do the business of the people of the city. So again, I just thought it was that important to put that on the record. So forgive me if I happen to be a little bit verbose at this time in giving you that explanation, but to me it was that important. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Reyno, are you finished speaking on your, Councilman Segura, you want to have
I'll
something else?
just point out that I would call everyone's attention to a correspondence that I had requested on June 30th of our city attorney for an opinion on this, and asked that it be sent to all council members. So is any council member not received a copy of this opinion? Not hearing anybody say no, I'll assume everybody got it.
I don't know, I hadn't looked at it.
The opinion from the city attorney that I requested on the legality of this resolution.
Okay.
And it was sent, I see it was sent to all council members. So this is,
I don't know what he's talking about.
again, we're on the deferral only, so I'm trying to just limit my discussion now to the reasonings for deferring, is because based on this opinion, I do not see the true legal and valid sense for this resolution to move forward.
Councilman Segura, I can address, okay.
I'd like to call a question on the motion to defer.
Second.
Has everyone addressed it on the deferral? I haven't. I'm just going to say that, just to address some of the things that were said about what we talked about, what we didn't talk about. I did get the copy from the attorney, and I agree with it. I agreed it was a little bit more than a governing body. The council's governing body should be going in that direction, and I totally agree with that. The information that I spoke with Councilwoman DeFranchise within the last 15 minutes before the meeting started, which was a lot of information to be able to process an opinion one way or another, which I don't think it was fair to me to be able to make an assist on that. Councilman Segura has all the right in the world to do what he did. Unless he was going to pull it, we're going to have to go forward and address, like Councilman Pistado said, call the question to be able to vote on this. Because I think it puts it in a position from a legal standpoint to start getting into things that I don't think we as a council should. So I think we should call the vote right now for it.
Can I say something?
Councilman Klein, so that you for real this time? This is
Yes, I think.
okay. All right. I can never, Councilman Klein, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say briefly that there's plaintiffs in this lawsuit, there's defendants in this lawsuit, there's even interveners in a lawsuit. Everyone is represented by attorneys. None of those lawyers want their clients to be speaking to personnel other than them. So I don't think it's appropriate at this point for us to do an investigation. The proper authorities are investigating everything. The plaintiff-
Deferral, Councilman Klein on the deferral.
Only talk on the
On the
deferral.
deferral.
I mean, the
all I
question's
have.
been called, so
Thank you. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, there, Attorney Russell. Appreciate that. So we're going to go forward and vote. The question has been called, so let's vote.
The motion would be to indefinitely defer. Your motion is Councilmember Segura, second by Councilmember Klein, on an indefinite deferral.
Start on that side.
Indefinite deferral, we're going to do it again the same way. We're going to start on this time, to be fair. Councilmember Stato,
Actually, doesn't roll call, I think the provisions require it be done in district order.
Aye.
okay.
Start it off. Aye.
Second,
Nay.
I'm abstaining because I thought we should work together and defer 1 or 2 meetings.
yeah, so is
I
that,
abstain
abstain?
with my
Aye.
explanation.
Yay.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 5-1. Councilmember Reyno is opposed. Councilmember DeFrances has abstained. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,259, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Adorama to furnish and install equipment for KTV in the amount of $13,436.98 in accordance with telephone bid T-17-2505 for the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications.
Motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilman Carroll. Councilman, please vote.
Aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is a resolution amending Rule 43, persons wishing to address the council of the Rules of Organization, Business, Order, and Procedure of the Council of the City of Kenner. Item 16B is an ordinance ratifying an emergency repair of the Susan Park Gymnasium air conditioning system in the amount of $10,049.33 by Beacon Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Incorporated for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16C is an ordinance authorizing the utilization of Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office Contract 17-D-1201 with Lamarck Ford Incorporated, Crescent City Ford Trucks, and Courtesy Ford to purchase vehicles on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $900,000 for the life of the agreements for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the lowest bid received from Highland Products Group, LLC, doing business as the Park Catalog, in the amount of $6,915 to furnish and install 5 Wilmington collection benches and 5 36-gallon Jackson receptacles at Rosemary Minor Park in accordance with telephone bid number T-17-2506 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
Councilman Klein is
Not me.
not right now. Okay. Anyone else has anything to say? Councilman Segura, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind the viewing public that this Sunday, July the 9th, will be the 35th anniversary of the unfateful day when Pan Am Flight 759 came down in our city. That was a very emotional and tragic day for a lot of people. This Sunday, there will be a Mass at Our Lady of Perpetual Help at 10:30. There will be a memorial right after outside of the church by the Pan Am Flight Wall and Bell Tower. There will be present numerous family members of the victims of not only the plane but on the ground. We will also have first responders who were there that day. It is something that has been going on actually in a much smaller setting annually with survivor family members and first responders. Former police chief Nick Kangemi and myself meet with these families annually, and we will be present at this Mass and memorial on Sunday. We would also love to have everybody and anybody that might have had any part of that event to perhaps take time, come to this Mass and share some moments with the family members that will be there. That is one of the things that I have found over the years that they truly enjoy when they do come to town, is not so much just to mourn the loss, but to meet and have conversation with other residents, other victims, survivor of the victims, and first responders, to have conversations with them about what took place during that tragic time of that plane coming down in our city. So again, please consider coming to this Mass on Sunday and spend some time with these folks. We will have, they come from out of the state as well as out of the country. We have one particular family that comes from England every year to visit. So please come out and share their time, share their thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Also, I'd like to thank the Recreation Department in District 1. We have an annual 4th of July picnic for the residents in the Pollock-Hanson City area. This is like the 5th year we've been doing it. Considering all the rain and bad weather we had, considering that, the people unfortunately had to deal with that high water for a very long time, even though it was only for about 5 or 6 hours. It was a long time if you live back there. So to be able to come back to the community to celebrate the Independence Day, to be able to see family and friends, I think it was apropos to have it at that time. So, and we had all the amenities that the city offered to the people who live back there. So it was kind of a cooling out period, and we appreciate the support from the Recreation Department that they gave, and all the people who came out, people who came from out of town to enjoy the festivities, and we look forward to it again next year. If you can make it next year, please come out. Thank you.
Item 18 is new business. Item 18A, at the request of Councilmember Moreno, an executive session to discuss the following litigation matter: George Bodie, Adam Campo, Gerald Dillenkoffer, Wendy Foles, Mary Sharon Howland, Kenneth Maricoli, Teresa Nevels, Stephen M. Pettit Jr., Johnny Sullivan, Ronald Vitalero, Richard Walther, and Mike Wetzel versus the City of Kenner, Ben Zahn in his official capacity as the mayor of the City of Kenner, and Michael J. Glazer in his official capacity as Chief of Police of the City of Kenner.
Thank you, Matt.
I have a motion.
Again, I'm going to defer to the council as, I don't want to move us in a direction to talk about things that I think is outside of the parameters of the council, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to ask, as far as how it relates to what exactly would be able to.
I'm not sure what the council member's motion is. He says he has a motion, but I don't.
I'm just basing it on what we have.
You need a 2/3 vote to go into.
True, but I'm just asking, as far as, is this a regular, would be the definitions and the laws of a regular session if we had one?
Well, I mean, the call for the executive session may be flawed in a couple of particulars, but I mean, if you all want me to address that, I will, or I don't.
I would. I'm not sure about my counterparts. If you believe, in your opinion, that some things are flawed in it, I'd like to hear that.
The councilman who requested the executive session, I think, asked that it be closed to only the public body, being that there are a couple of members on the council, one of whom is the council member who made the call that are now intervening in the suit. It may be, not proper, for them to, participate in the executive session. They've asked that the mayor and Chief Glazer be excluded, and they are parties defendant to the litigation, so that may also not be proper. So there's several issues, Council President, that, that are glaring about this call for an executive session, so.
Thank you. Councilman Segura,
A motion for indefinite deferral.
I second it.
motion by Councilman Segura, second by Councilman Klein for an indefinite deferral. Let's vote on this because I know we have to.
Aye.
Nay.
I will make my statement again. I am abstaining. I had no intention, by the way, to be involved in the discussion as per the request, from the information that Ms. Roussel provided. However, I go back to the fact that we were trying to work together. My idea was to, again, have a deferral for 1 or 2 meetings, whatever these council members wanted, in order for us to work together with the administration to move forward. So rather than to do something I don't approve of, I am going to abstain, because I don't think either position is correct.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 5-1. Councilmember Reyno is opposed and DeFrances has abstained. Item 19 is unfinished business and/or motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Yes, ma'am, we have a few. Mr. Al Morella.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 45 years. I got some comments and some questions. I'm going to direct this to you, Mazan. Back on December the 3rd, in a special runoff election, you was elected mayor of the city of Kenner. You could have took the oath right away. You didn't. You chose to stay on the parish council. On January the 11th, you introduced a resolution at the parish council meeting to settle a lawsuit that was filed by your campaign manager for mayor against one of your colleagues on the parish council and the people of Jefferson Parish. The resolution you offered was to settle this lawsuit, and in doing so would have put $120,000 of our money into Mr. Bousson's hands, and an undetermined amount on top of that for damages to his business. Now, after some opposition, I voiced opposition against that resolution, and an attorney in the audience that day was asked some questions and relative to that lawsuit. And based on that, the parish council, by a majority vote, rejected your resolution 5-2. Now, a few short months after that resolution was rejected, the lawsuit against your former colleague was thrown out. Now, on June the 22nd, just a couple of weeks ago, the lawsuit against the people of Jefferson Parish was also thrown out. I'd like your thoughts on that when I'm done speaking. And second thing I would like someone to tell us about the movie production down at the Pontchartrain Center, where they used the parking lot to stage all the movie equipment. They fed the crews that was involved in the movie. I would like to know, once again, the economic impact in terms of revenues for our city. And the last time I asked this question I got, they don't have privy to this. Yes, you do. This council controls the purse strings down here. Now, I'd like to get an answer. Anybody can answer that. Anybody got any comments, any questions before I leave? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morella. Mayor Zahn, are you? Mr. Morella, as far as the financial information, I'm sure no one came prepared to provide that. I'm sure that could be something we can give to you later. So nobody's going to have it today, obviously. So you would appreciate that, right? And as far as Mayor Zahn, would you like for him to answer your question?
Mr. Al, this is Chris. I was informed just recently, as a matter of fact, I believe just a couple of days before that production was taking place at the Pontchartrain Center, that they had requested to rent that facility for, I think they told me $40,000 to rent it for 2 days. But prior to a day or two before then, I had no idea that it was being rented. But that's what we were told, was they rented the Pontchartrain Center for.
That's the start of the and I thank you for giving me that information. And if I can get, like Councilman Carroll said, I'll accept it.
Faith in man, that's obviously still have faith.
Get all of the information. Okay?
All right, that's all I have for the Pontchartrain Center.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. President. I appreciate that response. That being said, will you be able to give Mr. Morella something next week from a formally to tell him exactly what it is? Because, I know you said what you thought, but we want to make sure before we go on the record as saying that's exactly what it was.
If I may, as I understand it, and again, we've only been here a few months, but as I understand it, the city of Kenner does not charge like the Jefferson Parish does for a permit to film within Jefferson Parish. And that's something the mayor has actually wanted to address, and we're looking at as a way to generate some revenue for the city of Kenner through filming permits. So that's something that bears further discussion. The filming productions do go through the code department or recreation, depending on the facility. For rental, yes, ma'am?
I was going to ask you a question, and forgive me, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you saw my face because I was wondering what was going on. In the past, and I was involved with that, that's why I know a little bit about it. We went to a great deal of investigation to put a procedure in place to make sure that any filming that took place in the city of Kenner would be done properly. And what normally has happened in the past, and I know it makes it very hard when we have transition like this, what normally happens in the past is we have a committee that goes in place, which involves the police department, it involves the fire department, it involves the code department, it involves members of the administration and council people as well. Usually if it's someone from their district or a council person at large as well. And I've been involved with that in the past because I was intimately involved in the formation of that group. Did that take place for this filming? Do you know?
I don't know that. I only found out a day or two before. As I understand it, there is no formal committee in place. There is not a film committee, commission, group, which we need to do, and that's something the mayor's...
There actually is. There actually is and has been.
As I have inquired through the code department, there is not a formal committee that's called the Film Commission or Committee.
They didn't have, I understand what you're
but
saying.
if
The
a-
official title wasn't there, but the committee was officially formed.
To my knowledge, they have not met since I've been here. And I've requested a meeting of a number of individuals to address that very issue. I've had a long meeting, in fact, with Barry Sprague, who is now with the parish, to find out how they did it in the past so that we can form a formal process that is documented and so we can follow and generate some revenue for the city of Kenner through these means.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, that along with a number of things that the mayor is trying to institute to be able to go forward. We're working on that just like we've done with JETCO and a lot of other things we talked about.
Yeah.
But I am asking, that's why I said, as opposed to going on the record, officially saying a dollar amount or this or that, if you could look into that and
Sure.
see where we are within that process.
We'll come up with some numbers for you, Council President, and we'll, again, as I understand it, there is no charge for a permit.
No.
There is a charge to rent a facility. Oftentimes, these film companies, these production companies go to private businesses within the city of Kenner. So while they may get a permit to notify the city they'll be shooting here, they're not paying anything for that permit. And the arrangements they make with a private business is, between them and that business. But certainly any kind of money generated through the city of Kenner for rental facilities and that type of thing, then we'll get you those numbers, yes, sir.
I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Mayor Zahn.
A few things, because I got to go back and remember all the questions that Mr. Morella had, but Councilor DeFrancis, you, what I'd like to invite you and Councilman Wilmot to do, since this is a citywide thing, not a district, no disrespect to any district council member, but you were instrumental with the filming from hell, basically, in Chateau at no time, and I forgot what it was. I don't know, something girls or whatever.
That was what started
Bad
the whole
girls.
problem, exactly.
What I'd like to do is for you and also Councilman Wilmot, you're new to this, just like I'm kind of new to it, except coming from the parish where we dealt with it. But maybe you could work with Ms. Fortunata.
Absolutely.
When we bring in that person or whoever we bring in to actually, we don't know how we're going to do it, but we need someone that actually steers that ship. So if your input would be valued, and also, of course, I need to ask my other councilman at large to work with us also. And I think it's something we can all put together and get a good product out there, because Mr. Morella, you know, he brings up some good points. We need to address that. So,
And you are right, and so is Ms. Fortunato, that although we did give the permit after that meeting took place, with including Veolia, by the way, we included everyone who might have some impact. Nevertheless, there was no monetary amount associated with the permit, but everyone had to sign off on it, as I said, from the
Right.
fire department to the police department to Veolia to the administration. But unfortunately, it was simply a permit with no monetary amount attached to it.
right.
We hope to change that. And by the way, Mr. Al, the name of that production is called Claws, like
It's
C-L-A-W-S.
the, I think it's the TV show that's on right now about a nail
I've never
salon or
seen it,
something.
but yeah. Oh, is that what it is? That
think that's
one with the
what it
nail
is.
salon?
Now, I gotta ask Mr. Morella, what was the question, what we've spent, or was the question, what, do you remember? I'm trying to go back.
Mr. Morella, make sure that I'm correct. I think the question that you asked was, as far as from a financial standpoint, how much monies did the city acquire from?
The parish.
From, you say parish?
Well, it was a parish issue, not a city issue.
Well, he
Something about the-
mentioned the parish in the beginning, and he kind of, you know, transcended into the Kenner about, on the lake, about the movie production. So you're wanting to know the funds for the lakefront, the movies, or whatever was taking place out there.
Okay, well, we're gonna get that answer with
Yes.
Ms. Fortunata, so I think we've answered that.
Yeah.
I was trying to go back to the parish issue.
Was there an issue, Mr.
How much
Morella,
money we
on the
spent?
parish, a question about his position as a council person at the parish?
Just wanted to get his thoughts on those two lawsuits that were thrown out. That his resolution tried to settle.
Right.
I just want to get his thoughts on the fact that they were thrown out.
Well, actually, I think the term is premature, because it's still, the other party can actually still come back and seek that if they want to. I guess, I know, look, I'm no attorney, nor do I pretend to be, but I believe that's where it is with the parish right now. Just going back from my history with that, the parish attorney found that the ordinance was unconstitutional. That person happens to be, I actually had faith in that opinion from the parish attorney when she actually did that, and it's proven because that person happens to sit to my left, and she's the CEO of the city of Kenner now. So I still take that advice that it was unconstitutional. I felt that it was political retribution. I mean, it became I thought it was unconstitutional along with the parish attorney, and I still stand by that. I think you bring up a good point, Mr. Morella, and I agree with you on all these things, that, yeah, I did offer a settlement. I believe it was, I don't want to quote, but I mean, you going back 7 months ago, $120,000. What I'll probably get for you at the next council meeting is what you, myself, and everybody in this room, if they live in Jefferson Parish, probably spent with that lawsuit, to where Mr. Buson, premature is the term, can still come back and do what he needs to do to the parish. I don't know what his plans are. It's unfortunate that it went that far. I was trying to settle it on behalf of the residents of the parish before I left there to come take this role as mayor of the city of Kenner. I still stand by that. I will continue to stand by that. We'll see what happens. Hopefully nothing else does happen, because that will continue to cost you, myself, everybody in this room from Jefferson Parish more tax dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Morella, for your question. Mr. Greg Tiffett. Name and address, sir. Tiffett?
My name is Greg Taft, live at
Tiff.
3720
Sorry about that.
West Loyola Drive here in Kenner. Just a couple things I want to bring up is, since we went ahead and voted to, I guess, tailor the law as it's written, that we do put it back as a referendum for the voters. because I think the voters have the right to know. Well, the voters are going to find out regardless how it was voted on tonight. That's going to happen. And whether they're going to feel stupid like me, I don't know. But I think that I liked what the mayor said, that he'd like to revisit it within 6 months. That may not be a bad idea because it gives us a time to heal that little wound, so to speak, and try to get it taken care of. As Councilman Segura pointed out, that there's a little flaw in there, and that leaves it to a discretion, and there should not be a law that's discretionary. It should be clear, especially when you have a voter voting on it, because the voter's relying on y'all to furnish them the information. And if you give us bad information, we're voting for the wrong thing. That's all I'm going to ask of y'all. The other thing is, President Carroll, some of this flooding, because I've stopped it, some of it in my neighborhood, is these people that come out that mow lawns, they're blowing all that stuff in the road, and then it's just going and clogging up the drains. I almost got into a fight with one of them about a week ago because he had all that stuff all over the road, and I just went up to him and said, look, you're going to clean that up. And you may find that may be going on. It's not necessarily the people, it's the people they're hiring are taking the shortcut so they can get on to the next lawn. Because that drainage is a problem.
I agree with you. And when I spoke to that subject about what the responsibilities of the parish and the council and the city, we as property owners are responsible too. I mean, if the drain is in front of your home, it is your responsibility to move away the debris, move away the trash. If you hire people to cut your grass and they're doing it, then maybe you should hire someone else if they leave it like that. But we have responsibilities too that's limited to the minimum that we can at least do that. But you're correct.
Exactly right. And also, I think that if, while code enforcement is driving down the road, they got to be seeing it. I mean, they really do. And that would have saved me from getting into that almost fight I was getting into. I was hoping either the police would drive by or code enforcement would come, and because this guy was big.
Well, I'm glad it didn't lead to that, Mr. Teff, for sure.
But anyway, I just wanted to make those comments. But on the voting, I do, Mr. Mayor, would like to see that come up quick, and I hope it gets cleared up right, because obviously we've got a lot of stuff that may be flawed that maybe we all, y'all need to start looking at a lot of that as well, because the voters are not, won't feel too good if they're thinking that, why am I voting?
Yeah. Thank you,
They
sir.
don't even know what I'm voting on.
Appreciate that.
All right, thank
Thank you,
y'all.
Mr. Gray. Thank you. Andre Stolier? Mr. Andre Stolier? Please state your name and address, Mr. Stolier.
Hi, my name is Andre Stolier. My address is 4302 Fontainebleau Drive, which is in New Orleans. I'm here on behalf of Access Health Louisiana. We're based out of Kenner. That's 2900 Indiana Avenue. I just wanted to briefly address the council this evening. I've actually spoken to quite a few of the council members already and reached out to a couple of others. I'm hoping to come back at a better time and be on the agenda to discuss what Access Health Louisiana does in Kenner and the state of Louisiana to a little bit more detail. But today I just wanted to take the opportunity because we have an upcoming event that I wanted to educate you all on. Access Health Louisiana is a network of federally qualified health centers. We operate 13 community health centers and 10 school-based health centers in 10 parishes in Louisiana. We are based out of Kenner. Our administrative office is right on the other side of Williams from the mall. And we actually have a community health center in the Esplanade Mall where we opened up about a year ago, which serves almost 5,000 patients and has had about 15,000 patient visits in the past year since it's opened. We are working with the city, actually. We met with the mayor's office very recently and co-hosting an event with the Esplanade Mall. We've been there for about a year and our traffic is very good, but we want to do our part to be a member of the business community as well. So we're doing an event called Supplies for Success, where we're hoping to give away approximately 1,000 backpacks filled with school supplies. What we've done is we've done this event at other clinics of ours in the past. They've been very successful, but this year, instead of doing it within the clinic at the mall, we're going to be doing it, patients and anyone really that's a member of the community can come with their family. They can register outside of our clinic. When they register, they'll get a bingo card. And then we have activities and games and stations set up throughout the center court of the mall. And once they go around and talk to all of those people, they'll get stamps for each letter. And once they get bingo, they come back, get a free backpack with some school supplies. And then they can actually go back and participate in the fun and games. And we'll have a raffle that will be going on all day, giving away things like bicycles and other, toys and things that the kids can use. We really want to encourage all the members of the council and the city to come and participate. It'll be a lot of fun all day long. We're starting at 10 a.m. on July 29th. That's a Saturday. Registration from 10 to 12 if you want to register for your backpack. But the event will go on, and we'll be giving away backpacks and keeping those games and activities going until 2 o'clock. I actually have some flyers here that I was hoping I could give to the appropriate person that maybe could pass them out so that you have that information. I'll also be reaching out. I'll send some information via email. I have all of your email addresses from the website. So.
Mr. Stoller, you can get that to the Madam Clerk, but before you leave, before you take your seat, there's a couple of council people who would like to ask you a couple of questions. Councilman Wilmot, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to follow up on, we had some conversations earlier this evening, and where are y'all located in the Esplanade Mall?
So when you walk into the Esplanade Mall from the entrance opposite the movie theater, next to Café du Mall, you just hang a right and we're right there. First floor.
And what types of healthcare services do y'all provide?
So that particular clinic provides primary care, pediatric care, behavioral health, and WIC services. We also serve as a Medicaid enrollment site. So if you're eligible for Medicaid, you can enroll there. And Councilman Wilmot, it is my intention, I'm happy to answer any questions, I truly am, but I want you to know that if you feel like I haven't given you enough details, in 2 weeks, I believe I am on the agenda to come back. I was hoping to do that today. I was under the impression there may be a 3-minute limit to my testimony, although I'm not sure. I feel like maybe I'm able to go over that, but I do have much more information that I can definitely get to you.
And you did very well in our conversation earlier, and you were very fully providing information to me, and I appreciate that. But I just wanted the public to hear it as well,
Absolutely.
and that's the reason why.
And I'm happy to answer any questions to that regard.
Okay, I appreciate it, and I think it's a FQHC, is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's a federally qualified health center.
And so when people come in, do they get treated, it's a slide and scale type?
So the way a federally qualified health center works is we take all patients from all walks of life, regardless of their insurance type or their ability to pay. If they are uninsured or underinsured, we offer a sliding fee scale that is based off of their income. And we also have things like we have a 340B pharmacy. That's a federal program that basically allows us to provide discounted prescription drugs to uninsured patients. Even if an uninsured patient can get into the door to see a primary care doctor, it doesn't help them if they can't afford the medication. They have no insurance to cover it. So the 340B program allows us to contract with local pharmacies, and we contract with both chain and independent pharmacies. And through that, we can give them discounted drugs. And it's actually relatively exciting news and new. We are going to be opening our own 340B pharmacy based out of one of our clinics in St. Charles Parish that will do same-day deliveries of medications, including those discounted medications to all of our patients here in the area and all of our patients within a 40-mile radius of that site.
And thank you. That's all good stuff, and I appreciate y'all providing good quality health care to our citizens.
It is our pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Wilmot. And before I have one more councilwoman to speak, would you give Madam Clerk the information to pass on to us? Thank you, sir. Councilwoman DeFranchise, you have the floor.
I believe you and I had spoken on the phone.
I was trying to catch your eye earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just let the public know, Mr. Zoller, who works with Julie Stokes, had called me about you and about some of the problems you were having at the Esplanade Mall at that time to get this event rolling. And I just want to put on the record, we did have a ribbon cutting when the clinic first opened, and many of the council people were there as well as the administration. And when we spoke at length about the facility and all the things that you offer. And I'm just so delighted. I'm not going to, drag this on because you're going to come back and give a lot more information, which I'm hopefully at a future meeting. But I'm just so happy to know that you were able to work out after our conversation, some of the details with the Esplanade Mall to make this a reality. So I
Absolutely.
just wanted to put that on the record. I'm delighted to be.
Absolutely, and David Zeller is a great friend. This was actually his idea to expand the event, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Look forward to working with you. Next, Mr. Fred Miller. Name and address, Mr. Miller.
Fred Miller, 4005 Delaware. I would like to reiterate something that Mr. Taft said about the grass blowers. I mean, they just clog up the drains. I'm out there cleaning them up. I've seen the city trucks go by and don't clean anything up. I was out there one day cleaning up with my arm in a sling and a cast. They didn't even stop to help me. They stopped, they said, what you doing? I said, I'm cleaning the drain. Y'all can help it? And they had sewage and drainage written on a truck. And they said, no, this ain't our district. I said, well, what you doing riding down the street if this ain't your area? And they just took off. And I saw that same truck 4 or 5 times more that day. This was about 2 years ago when we had a lot of rain too. Another thing on those voting, like y'all talking about that amendment for the voting, on whether it was right or wrong. A lot of things that you vote on, when you read that little statement, is worded in such a way, sometimes you think you're voting against it, but you're voting for it. Sometimes you think you're voting for it and you vote against it. Why can't they put that in plain language where you know whether you're right or wrong? Because a lot of people don't really take the time to read it. A lot of them may not have enough education to understand what's going on. So why can't they just put it in simple language? I mean, you want them to vote for you. You want them to vote for that. But tell them what they're voting for. And the last thing, the boat ordinance. I wish y'all would repeal that or do something final with it, make up a good final thing that could be comparable to everybody. Because that's going on for a long time, and I think it just needs to be repealed. They got more people against it than they are for it. And y'all say y'all get phone calls. I don't doubt that. But I've never seen one person come in here, and you know I've been here a lot, to stand up and say, I don't want no boats. I've never seen it. You know, I've never seen them. So if they're got the guts to call you, why don't they have the guts to come out here in the public and tell the people who they are and why they don't want a boat trailer, a boat or a trailer or anything in the yard. And if they don't like it on my street, they ain't got to come down my street. They don't live there anyway. Thank y'all. I'll see y'all later.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. One thing, though, when you said in the beginning of your conversation about if there are ever any situations where you feel we as the city or the mayor should know, the code director, you can speak to him after, and please call us and let us know.
Well, I called the code director's office.
Okay, well then.
Some lady, and she said she'd handle it. I even gave her the number of the truck. That was, like I said, 2 years ago. And I constantly see the code trucks up and down the street, constantly, and they never stop.
Well,
They never stop to clean drain. They pass up drain by my house. It's got junk in it, tree branches and stuff like that after the storm. They just keep on going. They don't even slow down. They just go right by. And they got to stop by 2 drains because there's a stop sign there.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Miss Cynthia Thompson. Name and address, Ms. Thompson, please.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Marie Thompson. I reside at 2848 Salem Street, Apartment B, 70062, Kenner, Louisiana. I stand before you on behalf of youth who participate in our recreation program or visit Lincoln Manor Gymnasium for leisure activities. This request is for your support, directions, and services to renovate or restore inadequate parts of the facility inside and outside for our youth. Some of the outstanding needs are more sand for our field. The kids are running on slopes. They're not running on flat land. New fire alarms. The old ones just don't work. Unpainted sections in the rear of the gym. A back light in the rear of the gym. The baseball field, it's off. New surfaces to resurface outside the tennis court and the basketball court. The kids are playing on cracked concrete. Technology devices or controls for the newly installed basketball scoreboards. Yes, we have them, but no, they don't know how to use them. And renovation or restoration for our kitchen, for concessions. We ask this, we ask for your support, but we also would like to thank you for your magnanimous support that you've given in the past. But we need you now more than ever. Our youth need you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And, you know, full disclosure, your Lynn Commander Jim is part of District 1. Ms. Thompson, before you leave today, I'd like to talk to you again to be able, because we've in the past documented some concerns there. We've fixed some, but obviously there's a lot more that we can get done. So before you leave today, I'd like to talk to you from one Bruin to another to be able to talk about some of your concerns. Actually, tonight, the Lincoln Manor Booster Club had their first meeting to elect new officers tonight. Sorry I couldn't make it, but I'll be speaking to them later about that.
Excuse me, Mr. President, that meeting is next week on the 11th.
Oh, I thought it was tonight. Well, I'll be able to attend then. Thought it was tonight, the 11th. Thank you. Thank you. Miss Evelyn Dufresne? Dufresne.
Yeah.
Name and address, Ms. Dufresne.
Evelyn Dufresne, Vure Drive, Kenner. I'm here to ask Mr. Regnault a question. I watched the last two council meetings. They were really disgusting. It was like watching a court scene. I just spoke to Mr. Pettit. I asked him if he was going to speak today. He said no, thank goodness. The question to you is, when Mr. Pettit was speaking and addressing you like he was in a court, he said your ex-wife was in the audience and your...
Ms. Dufresne, Ms. Dufresne, I don't want to
I'm
listen.
just repeating. I'm not
I
being
know.
mean to him. I like
I'm just
Mr.
going to say that.
What?
Listen, it is your right to get your 3 minutes, but if you would agree too that some of the actions or reactions were
I want
inappropriate.
to ask him a question,
So
Mr. Carroll.
all I'm saying is, if that is something you would like to ask Councilman Reno, you can ask him after the meeting. Is
I
that
want to ask him on camera because I have to clarify. People are calling up. My phone is burning with people
well,
calling.
he'll be able to address the same information you
How
asked
come you're
publicly.
not letting me speak?
Because again, the decorum that I believe we should have as professionals, I've received calls too. Please ask him after the meeting.
Can I ask him a question?
Yeah, as a person who lives in this district, maybe, you can ask as many as you want relating to that. But if you're going to go back to last week,
Okay, well, the question is, it's circulating that Mary Sharon Howell is your ex-wife. Is it true or not?
Ms. Dufresne, if I ask you not to go there, so ask Mr. Reno
What can I
after the
say?
council meeting.
What can I say? My
After the
freedom of
council
speech.
meeting, after the council meeting,
I
you,
like Mary Sharon. She likes
No.
animals like me.
Ms. Dufresne, your time is up. You can please sit down.
My
please.
3 minutes is up?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is it really up?
Yes, ma'am. It really
Are you
is.
censoring me?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
I didn't hardly
Listen,
speak.
Listen, if I may quote,
You let other people speak more than 3 minutes, and it took a lot for me
If
to
I
come
may
here. I don't
quote-
like being on TV.
if I may quote the English poet and author, even though I disagree with what you're saying, I will fight to the death to give you the right to say it. But this is not what we should be talking about. You have the
Well, that's one of the
opportunity.
questions. Another question I have is for the chief.
No, ma'am, your time is up. The next person, please.
Oh, I would never vote for you. I'd vote against you.
I understand. Miss Emily Montgomery. Your name and address, sir, please.
My name is Ronnie Montgomery, 10 Olympic Street in Kenner, Louisiana. And I am one of the people here that's going to stand up and say no to the vote. I've been a resident of Kenner for 20 years. We've had a very, very, what I call friendly neighborhood, friendly street. I have no problem with boats or campers, but we're not living in certain areas where it's an AOA campground. Certain houses shouldn't have boats parked in front of their homes. I don't think anyone would like if I would build a gym to work out or a basketball court in my front yard. There are places to put boats. There are places to put campers. There are recreational vehicles. I understand that. But I don't think they should be parked in front of a residence, especially a residence that may have one single driveway with a 40-foot trailer and a 30-foot boat. And they can't even park their cars in the driveway. As I said, I have no problems with boaters, no problems with campers, but there are places for them. I've tried reaching out to Code, asking them to look into it. They've come by and talked to them. And the answer was to take the wet mat and turn it upside down. It was still wet. They moved the camper in the back and put the boat in the front. It's still there. All I'm asking is, I have also spoken to quite a few people who do not like it. And for some reason, they won't come forward. I don't know if they're afraid, they don't want to upset their neighbors. But a lot of us have spent a lot of money in our homes. We spend a lot of money with lawn and care, taking care of our lawns. And the last thing we want to see is boats, trailers, and campers parked in front. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir, and we appreciate it. You have been in the minority as far as relating to this subject, but that is your right. I mean, you should be able to come in and express your personal concerns and opinions, and we appreciate that, just like we hear the information from the other side. So thank you again for coming.
I've spoken to quite a few people, a lot in my neighborhood, a lot of people in Kenner, that they just don't care for it.
Thank you,
Now, why
sir.
they're not coming forward, I don't know, but they don't care for it,
Thank you, sir.
okay? Thank you.
Mr. Brown, name and address, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner. I've got 2 or 3 questions. One, the first one for the city attorney, Lee. This is regarding the residency rule in the charter, the section 4.33. I was under the impression that that entire section was adopted at the same time, actually, with the original charter. But following the conversation between you and Councilman Segura seemed to be saying that this provision was amended at some point. Can you clarify that, please?
I don't think that's what, I don't want to speak for the councilman, but I don't think that's what he was saying. I think that there was a referendum put to the voters to, I think, maybe repeal that. But again, Mr. Brown, I'd have to look at the exact call and what was put on the ballot before the voters. But it was to change the provision, 4.33. I don't know in what respect. I think it was to actually maybe repeal it or to say, I don't remember how it was worded. I didn't do that research for this meeting tonight. But
Okay,
but I
thank you,
let
Ms.
you know.
Rizzo. Yeah, it's my understanding this entire provision is original to the charter, to the 1974 charter.
Well, that is correct, and I think that's what I stated. I just don't know what was proposed to be changed about it.
I have heard, I don't know this for a fact, I have heard that several years ago, there was a referendum to either repeal or modify this section, but that referendum failed. And therefore, this section still reads exactly as it did from day one, the entire section. Give me 1 second, Mr. President. I've got another comment I wanted to make to Mayor Zahn about the residency rule. Mayor Zahn, I do commend you for at least addressing this issue. For many years, we have had mayors who have just simply ignored this provision. And although I disagree with the action the council took, I think we need to stick with what was the obvious intent of the charter. I commend you for addressing it head on. And a question that I hope maybe somebody from Public Works can address, if not now, maybe in the future, regarding the grass clippings blowing into the drains. I've wondered about this myself, and by the way, I won't put any grass clippings in the drains. People who cut my yard won't. I don't see any other neighbors do it. Every time we have a storm, 2 of us in my block get out in the middle of every storm, even a hurricane, keeping our drains clean. But I've also seen how the pump stations operate, and they handle a whole lot of trash. And I'm really asking, I'm curious as to whether very fine grass clippings actually impede the operation of the drainage pumps. I'm just curious, and I hope if someone has an answer now, great. If not, maybe let us know in the future. Let me make one other comment, then I'll be finished.
30 seconds, Mr. Brown.
Okay. I want to make just one comment about the lawsuit regarding the political activity provision of the charter. And at the last meeting, Mr. Pettit made the statement to Mr. Rayno that you cannot characterize my lawsuit. Mr. Rayno was saying it's basically a suit against the citizens of Kenner. Any of us can characterize that lawsuit any way we want to. I also look at it as an affront to the citizens of Kenner who voted 70-30 for that provision to prohibit political activity. That's all I have. I gather somebody from Public Works does have an answer to the grass clippings question.
Yes, there was a question about, excuse me, the grass clippings and whether or not it would hurt the pumps. It's not going to hurt the pumps nor slow the operation of the pumps, but what it does do is clog the drain grates. If you get enough grass clippings and sometimes leaves and sticks, it will clog it up and cause the street to flood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I believe that's it. And if we don't have any more, motion to adjourn.